Are people moving? What's that? Oh, what's it say down below? Can you see on the Moranis? Oh, we're muted. I'm open it. No.
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Utica. Going to read opening words from Amanda Schuber. If this is your first time or your 101st time, we are glad you're here. If you carry the weight of a weary world on your shoulders, or if you entered through the doors with a song in your heart and a skip in your step, we are glad you are here. If you are the loudest voice in the town square, or the subtle hand behind the scenes, we are glad you're here. If you have failed once or 1,000 times, we are glad you are here. If you sing like an angel or mumble behind the hymnal, we are glad you are here. This community is what it is because of your presence. So welcome into this space of love, support, justice, compassion, fellowship, and worship. We are glad you are here. We are the Unitarian Universalist Church of Utica. Our sacrament is coffee, one of our sacraments anyway. We invite you to join us for it and other hospitality after this service. We're looking for 2 people to sign up on November 17. Hands right now, 2 people? Paul and Tammy, gotcha. All right. Thank you. And we're good till around December 1st. Thank you all so much. December 1st might be a streaming service. Katie, is Katie here? Okay, no worries. Paul and Tammy, thank you. A Course in Miracles meets this Thursday, 7 p.m., and that's also on Zoom. See Jack Pendrak. If you have wondered what A Course in Miracle is, Jack will tell you. Stewardship will be starting up. That's for our spring 2025 canvas, our every member canvas. Jack Pendrak will also be the point person on that. If you'd like to get involved in that, we would love to have you, and Jack would be the person to talk with about that as well. There's a climate action meeting after this service. All climate action meetings are important. This one is super important. So it has to do with the church. So after you get your cookies and coffee or whatever, please join Barb Freeman and her merry persons in the all-purpose room. Let's hear from Paul Tenerowitz.
Morning, everybody. I just wanted to make a quick announcement that I, along with the board, we've been working on you may have seen it in the news recently, a company called GoNetspeed is a new internet provider in the area, and they're providing high-speed fiber optic network to Utica. I guess they've already opened some customers up, but they approached us to see if we would be willing to exchange some space in our yard in the front corner over there for a transmission hub. in exchange for a no-charge high-speed internet and phone service in perpetuity, essentially. So it's been marked off with little white flags. It would be enclosed by a vinyl green fence that they would allow us to decorate and paint, do art projects, whatever we want to make it look. And so that's out there. We pretty much need to make a decision in a couple weeks. So I just want people to take the opportunity to go over there and take a look at it, maybe think about it. If anyone has any, deep-seated objections to that, let me know, or even mild objections. Just want to make sure that people would be on board with that and nobody would find it offensive or anything like that. They do have a local installation, and that I'll get a picture of, and maybe next week we can put it up on the screen to let you see what it would look like. But, so that's basically it. So just let me know if you have any questions.
Jean Perry.
And you can't turn it up on your computer either? Is it going through your phone?
Hi, everybody. I could put this on my head, but I'm not going to. I'm going to be putting this in the back of the church there and collecting hats, gloves, and mittens for children. And the nice thing is, I know where it can be distributed. I'm a member of the Ladies of Charity, and we do all kinds of things, sandwiches for the homeless and collects, clothes for the rescue mission. We've done all kinds of things. But last year, every year, St. John's Church gives out hats and mittens to all the people, for the children, for all the people that sign up for their Christmas charity. And last year, they ran out of them. So our group, the Ladies of Charity, is collecting, and I thought, why not put a basket in this church? Because if you want to do something very easy, it goes directly to children, any kind of hats, gloves, or mittens. They don't have to be little either, because they're given out to children up to 12 years old. So the giveaway, it's early December. I don't have the exact dates, somewhere around December 10th. So I'll leave it back there till then. So anything you'd like to give would be helpful.
Good morning. Just a reminder that next week we have a special collection called for the UUA Disaster Relief Fund. And the reason I wanted to make a special point this morning is that sometimes we have friends visiting for a Sunday service, and they do contribute by check, but they don't indicate on the check whether it's for support of the church, the congregation, or whether it's for that special collection. So to make matters easy for everyone, especially the people that take care of the resources, either put it in an envelope, which I have done, because I won't be here next week. I'll just put this in the special collection, or in the safe, or in the basket today, so they'll know that it's for a special collection. Also, just put it on the check, right on the check, whatever your contribution is for. That keeps it all clean, and we all know what you're contributing to. Thank you very much.
So Ken, why are you having a disaster relief fund collection next week?
What?
Related to all of the churches that are destroyed by the...
Well, it's been called by the UUA in support of Unitarian churches, especially in North Carolina, but also all the other communities in the South and churches that have been affected by the hurricanes. So thank you, Carol. It's for the disaster relief. I just assume everybody knows everything because you read the newsletters and everything, but.
By the way, those hats and mittens have to be new.
Hats and mittens have to be what?
New.
Have to be new. Okay. Yes, everything about the Disaster Relief Fund can be found in your newsletter. If you are new to this congregation, or if you just don't get the newsletter, you can sign up under the clock. There are sheets that you can fill out that'll let us know about you and let you get the newsletter. And it's kind of a two-step process. First, you have to receive the newsletter. Second, you have to open the newsletter. I guess it's a three-step process. Third, you have to read it. And if you read this week's newsletter, you will find amazing and delightful things about Jean Marie Perry, who was our featured member in the newsletter. Great newsletter. Okay. Reverend Jill Farnham-Us is no stranger.
Phone talking?
been at this podium before. Reverend Jill was ordained in 1995 at the Metropolitan Community Church. She is now spiritually connected with Lotus Heart Zen Buddhist Sangha in Oneida. Jill has worked in sciences and healthcare, including dealing with HIV/AIDS in Washington in an urgent care setting, and has worked as a hospice chaplain. Reverend Jill is a political activist, an interfaith advocate, a Buddhist, and a Tai Chi practitioner. She and her wife, Farnham-Us, who joins us on Zoom this morning. Good morning, Kara. They reside locally in the area. So please welcome with our opening words, Reverend Jill Farnham-Us.
Thank you, Ken, and it's wonderful to be here with all of you. My piece of paper disappeared. Okay, there we go. Got it. Yeah. Our opening words: we are accepting the darkness and finding the light within. And we're about to light the chalice?
Yeah, I'll light it. You have words?
I have words. I have words. We light this flame to remind us love is the center. As we grow and connect, mature and deepen, love remains the center. When the light of truth burns all else away, love remains. And now we get to sing, Let There Be Light. Thank you, Bob.
And I can say, please join us for hymn 142, Let There Be Light. Stand as you are motivated and sing out with Bob Ford.
It's James Scribble. I think from Bob Ford. In my bed.
Oh,
Let there be light, let there be understanding, let all the nations gather, let them be face to face. Open our lips, open our minds to wonder, open the door of concord, opening into grace. Perish the sword, perish the angry judgment, perish the bombs and hunger, perish the fight for gain. Let there be light, open our hearts to wonder, perish the way of terror, hallow the world God made.
Good morning. It's time for a story. Yay! This morning, our Together Time story is The Light Within by Crystalline Sanders Diggs and illustrated by Leticia Ribeiro. My parents have always told me I have a light that shines bright from deep within, but I don't see a light anywhere in my mouth, nose, ears, eyes, or on my skin. My father says the only way for me to see my light is if I look inside. I close my eyes, take a deep breath, pause a little, and put all thoughts aside. I let his words sink in, but at first I didn't see a thing. When I take a few more deep breaths, I begin to hear a slight humming. Slowly, a bright light begins to grow deep inside underneath my clothes. The beaming light spreads across my chest, down to my belly, then my fingers and toes. It's the most beautiful thing, more delightful than any place. The light is so bright that it instantly puts a big smile on my face. Brighter than the sun that seems so far and high, brighter than the stars twinkling, dancing in the night sky. My mom says my light is even more special than the sun. She says there's a light inside everyone. When I smile, I share my inner light. So I keep smiling for all the world to see the bright light within me. The end.
I'm not sure I can top that. Thank you. It's a great story. Be nice. Okay, settle down. Okay, I think we're good. Try not to bite it. Got it. So as you heard, I've been practicing with a local sangha in Utica or in Oneida. I'm a Herkimer, so I just on Zoom. I can be anywhere in the world. It's amazing. So I've been also reading on a monthly basis and a daily basis, David Michie. He's a Tibetan Zen Buddhist from Zimbabwe who now lives in Australia, but travels back and forth to Zimbabwe for retreats and things. And he has a Substack and weekly newsletter called The Dalai Lama's Cat. And he's written a book, or several books actually, related to this particular creature who has some great insights into what's going on in the Dalai Lama's life. So this one he wrote is called Political Traumatic Stress Syndrome. And I'm looking at people who are going, yep, here we are, okay. So he says, many people are suffering from political stress. It seems never ending. I'm not only talking about the US coming elections, although they're an obvious stressor for many. He said some readers realize that there are some things that so he's not talking politically about any one particular person. Specifically, the leaders in recent Europe, South African, and UK elections, whether left, right, leaning, or right, are equally loathed by their own countries. Like, it seems like that's a good idea to just dislike a politician or two. The scope of political trauma extends way beyond the US. I don't want to trivialize the clinically diagnosed post-traumatic stress disorder. If I have created a somewhat whimsical alternative for this acronym, and I'm trying to make it sound a little upbeat, it's primarily from a wish to draw readers away from the dark. But PTSD and political traumatic stress disorder share a significant hallmark. If we're to be free from stress, we can't expect a situation and solution to come from outside. Not from political events, and certainly not from the media. As much as we might hope, external outcomes, like the correct election results, which we're all hoping for, do not hold a key to our salvation. Even when contentious leaders are removed from power or fail to gain it, people and causes that gave rise to them are still there. Alternative performance may be deeply disappointing, and what we deem important may rapidly be sidelined by unexpected global events. There's a little climate warming thing going on around the world. So the symptoms of PTSD, political, is anxiety over election results and outcomes, fear of political disasters. I worked the polls this past week. On Wednesday, people were crying at the polls. There's anxiety. Hypervigilance on social media, people reading their phones like constantly. Emotional outbursts, screaming and yelling, crying, whatever. And then finally, desensitization. You may find just shutting down, I don't want to listen to another thing, I'm turning everything off, I'm going away. Totally get that. So it's challenging to accept that our responses are anything but a response to something that's outside us. We may wonder why other people who broadly are of the same view as we, aren't as concerned or anxious or alarmed and outraged as we are. As for the other side, we may question their intelligence, decency, fairness, capacity, all manner of other attributes. We may be convinced that the cause of our stress are external, but from a Buddhist perspective, that's what I'm bringing now, the distress is all coming from our own minds. Those of us who are traumatized by politics need to take ownership of our feelings and the role we have in creating them, rather than putting the blame on that party or that person or those people out there. Others may encourage us to be outraged, but we would do well to remember that outrage and feelings of vengefulness are like drinking poison and hoping someone else gets sick. The other side will almost certainly be unaware of our feelings. The only one we hurt is ourselves. So we are the creators of our own unhappiness. It is possible to inhabit the same reality without so much emotion. Other people do. By better managing what we give to our precious attention to, as well as by reducing our overall emotional temperature a few notches, we will not only experience more equanimity and well-being, we will be a whole lot more effective, too. I've noticed when I shout at people, they don't pay as much attention. It's when I listen to them. Amazing. So the treatment for this post-political traumatic stress disorder, he's a Buddhist, I mentioned that. His first thought is to meditate. A good idea, not a bad idea at all. The second is to spend time in nature. And thank you, God, we can do that now. It's not a hurricane running over us or 8 feet of snow, which is also possible to spend time in nature, but you need a lot of boots and hats and skis and all that kind of stuff. I suggest a temporary news fast. You can turn on the weather if that's what you need in your little phone, get the weather, but maybe we don't need to hear everything. And then try to figure out from whom you're going to get that news, managing those feeds. And then working on turning down your reactivity. That's a little bit of a challenge, but let me just read you a story, a Chinese folktale about a lost horse. An old man loses his horse to the wild. When his fellow villagers come around wailing and commiserating, he just says stoically, "We'll see." Days later, his horse returns, along with a few wild horse friends that he'd picked up along the way. Horses are a measure of wealth, and now the man is richer by several horses. The villagers are delighted and come around to congratulate him, and if a little envious, and he just says, "We'll see." Attempting to ride one of the wild horses, his son is thrown off and breaks his leg. It's harvest time, and everyone is needed to help in the fields. The villagers wring their hands despondently. "We'll see," the old man tells them. The imperial army comes along and is recruiting able-bodied young man. His son is exempt, and so it goes. We never know what's around the corner, and what we interpret as good news one day can turn out to be just the opposite. better not to make more of the things than they merit, to concretize ideas and see patterns that don't exist. Better to adopt a "we'll see" attitude. Maybe you could write "we'll see" on a post and put it on the refrigerator or the mirror or something. We'll see. So the other thing we can do is to focus on what is in our control. It's a lot smaller than we think, actually. And then we can practice thinking about, in positive ways, the people who are on that side, whichever side that is. Just imagine, we go all the way and we just imagine what it's like to be on that side. So, in summary, to wrap it up, whenever we're feeling politically traumatized or just trying to keep up with the ever-changing landscape, we're all in this roller coaster together. So buckle up, breathe, and remember, democracy may be messy, but it's way better than the alternative. So let's keep settling our minds, widening our vision, maybe look within and find that light. Actively manage the news we consume, and make room for hope, humor, and perhaps a little healthy skepticism. Maybe the world was going to hell in a handbasket. Maybe it's the darkest hour before dawn. We'll see. So, we've all just turned our clocks back, or the internet did it for us. I have to go do my microwave and my refrigerator and my stove and my coffee maker to make sure I know what time it is there, because that's important. Yeah, that's sacrament coffee, got it. And so we get some more light in the morning. You know, I woke up a little and it looked light, but then it was just 6 o'clock on my watch. Oh yeah, light earlier now, cool. But by tonight, the dogs will be asking for the dinner at 3:30. And my chicken will be heading for a coop by 4:30, because that's when sunset is. Does anybody really know what time it is? So the darkness is a time, for many of us, for rest and healing. We have many resources to keep the dark at bay. We turn on all the lights in the house, right? Many of these efforts are based on fear and anxiety, and some of it is related to that reading that I just did on political trauma. And we have many more anxious thoughts and primal fears about the dark. Can you remember being a kid and afraid of that thing under your couch, under your bed, or in the closet, or something making a noise? But what if we just relaxed and embraced the dark? I used to love going to bed when I was a teenager in a room that I shared with my 7-year younger sister. So she was 7 and I was 14, and I was going to bed at 7:30, just saying. As she was sleeping, I would go into the closet with a book and a flashlight to read and get ready to go to sleep. I loved the quiet dark of the bedroom and my closet. The furnace chimney ran up the wall in the closet, so I'd lean back against that and it would be nice and warm in the wintertime. And then I would go to bed at what I considered a reasonable time. I loved those moments spent in the dark. But what about the scary times and scary dark places? Can we relax and embrace those? David Mitchie said that we are the creators of our own unhappiness. It is possible to inhabit the same reality without so much emotion. Other people do. By better managing what we give our precious attention to, as well as by reducing our overall emotional temperature a few notches, I'm not saying totally cool off, stay a little energized, we will not only experience more equanimity and well-being, we'll be a whole lot more effective too. We are not accustomed to believing that our emotions are caused by our internal behaviors. It's easier to blame them or that or whatever for causing our emotional response. So just a little personal story. I was watching TV a couple of weeks ago, trying to get information about a hurricane that was going through. I basically watch TV for the weather. But they also got a bunch of political stuff going on too, because the news won't just stop with the weather. And I was getting agitated. Okay, no, I was shouting at the TV. It doesn't listen to me, but I shout at the TV. But it was time for my weekly meditation practice with the Sangha. So I went into my office and zoomed into the group. The reading they had that day was from Anthony DeMello's book, which we've been reading, called Stop Fixing Yourself. Well, who's going to fix me if I don't? The meditation reminded us that the things that are triggers for our strong emotions are generally issues we don't like about ourselves. I was not a fan. I am triggered by bragging, bullying, and political rhetoric. I don't do that. That's him, not me. Then I meditated and became aware that I'm pretty sure of myself. I argue with the TV, I did mention that. I argue with the radio, even NPR. And occasionally with my wife. What I find triggering is the arrogance, the self-righteousness, and the self-centered attitude that I was watching, and also, too often, emulating. Yuck. I still get upset, but now I can stop and reflect. There are fewer them feelings and a lot more, oh, I know that feeling, responses. That doesn't mean I agree with the person who upsets me. It means I recognize that we are all connected. Less demonization and more stopping to listen and reflect. One immediate side effect has become a new connection with someone I know from the senior Tai Chi classes that I've been taking in Herkimer County. A week ago, he told me that I was the only person he'd ever met who had a Kamala sticker on the back of their car. And then he came to vote on Wednesday when I was working at the polls, and as he deposited his ballot, he was clear who he'd supported, and I thanked him for coming, to vote early. And he asked me, he said, what is that thing on the back about the proposition? And I said, it's the Equal Rights Amendment. And he said, well, I didn't know what it meant, so I voted no. And I didn't slap him. It was okay. I didn't. But on Friday, we met after class, and we were talking about the election as we were heading home. And we were able to see each other as friends. And we were able to agree on some points. And he had learned some things that he wanted to explain to me why he voted no, and I explained to him why that wasn't what the Equal Rights Amendment was saying. But anyway, we were able to listen to each other. The meditation helped me to develop a more open attitude, which then helped us to connect. I didn't change him. I changed the way he could talk to me, and I could hear him, which I think changed him a little. Didn't change his vote. He's voting because he wants $1.50 gas. I want 25-cent gas. Whatever, not going to happen. We have recognized common ground and felt a stronger connection, and it's that connection that's important. The darkness is still there. The darkness, we live in a part of the world when it's dark. Thank God, not Iceland when it gets dark at 3 instead of 4:30. But still, it gets dark. And there are still lots of things and actions that are frightening, anxiety producing, scary. I had people at the polls crying. I think it's terrible, it's gonna happen, I don't. When I'm afraid, I react very much like the people I think I don't like. When I relax and rest in the darkness, like in that warm closet with a good book, I can respond in a much more thoughtful way. I think I need to find a fireplace to lean up against. My dogs claimed that spot. I was driving down from a meeting I was at the other day and saw a sign on the front of a yard saying, "Go fight, win." And I realized we live in a go fight, win society. And I think we're meant to live in a rest, love, heal community. That doesn't mean being complicit with the ideas and values that are distressing to us. Our values are all very individual. Our family, our religion, our level of trauma or anxiety all contribute to the things we believe and value. It's when we can pause and listen to the people and situations that upset us that we can discern the nuances of our values. Embracing the darkness means that we have to listen more than we generally do. They don't teach us that at seminary even. And you may have noticed that, Bob. They teach us to preach, not so much to listen. We need to shift that. It also means that when we're in the dark, we don't have the long view. We can only see what's close to us. Everything we're aware of is very close at hand. Instead of anxiously looking for threats or danger, we have to just sit and listen. And that's a lot easier to do when we're relaxed. We can actually hear more when we're relaxed. And in that state, we may find connections that we couldn't imagine in our busy daytime lives. So the theme here, I guess, is connection. Too often, we only connect with people or situations in which we feel like we're all the same. And I get that. It's wonderful to be with like-minded people. That's why I love coming here. My animals are teaching me there's another lesson. I have an alpaca who's the survivor of the 5 alpacas we adopted in 2012. I was told that they needed to be in a herd, that one alpaca would not survive by herself. But Dolabella is my survivor, and she's been alone now for over 4 years. She was always separated from the rest of the herd. I would go out to see the rest of the herd, and they'd be in the shed, and she'd be sleeping way up in the corner covered with snow. I'm like, come into the shed. Even now, she sleeps outside. When I went out this morning, she was covered with frost. So she likes outside. She's got fur that's this thick. She's good. She's not cold. She had some deer who would come through, and there's bunnies that are hopping around and all that kind of stuff. But she's basically been alone. We also have had chickens. Our flock of 18 turned into 1 chicken survivor in September. The chicken sleeps in the Amish chicken coop at night and then runs up to the alpaca pasture as soon as I open her little door in the morning. I mean, she boogies up there. Little feet are running just as fast as she can get to her alpaca. And they spend the rest of their days together. She'll come down from time to time to see if we're coming home from something good that might have food, just to check. But then she runs back up there. And then she comes back down at night to be in her house. And being with the alpaca protects her from the foxes and hawks that killed the rest of the flock. And it gives the alpaca a companion who doesn't get in her way. I think that was the problem with those other alpacas. They were like, in her way. Chicken's good. She's right there. They're both more relaxed and comfortable when they're together. Our dogs, and probably yours, and your cat, sleep with us in our chairs and help us rest. Or if I'm in my office, they're on the chairs and the floor beside me, just making sure that I'm not alone. It's not about being alike. It's really about connecting. That companionship is amazing. When I'm sitting in my chair and I'm starting to, crank up the energy, I just reach down and touch a furry dog, and I can take that deep breath again. What an amazing lesson for the rest of our lives. Connecting is not about being alike. It's about liking each other. Can I say loving each other? What if that's what our light is really about? that wonderful light that is inside all of us. It's that love that wants to get out, to be shared. It's not a bright source of truth and conviction, the, interrogation light, which is what I keep hoping I'm shining in people's eyes. But it's a warm, close connection that lets us feel and see and be heard, and lets us see and hear each other. Most of us have grown up believing that logic, intellect, and debate skills are our best tools for changing the world. What if we had an understanding of the ways that mycelium connect the trees of the forest? That underground fungus, providing a connection between the evergreens and deciduous trees that are far apart but connected through that fungus. What if we learned what the geese are saying as they travel in flocks, talking to each other for thousands of miles? What if we learned to rest and sleep with our dogs and cats, to embrace the darkness and find that light within? And what if that light could truly connect us without having to debate, fight, and win? What if we really could rest and love and heal? And to do that, breathe.
Join us, please, for hymn number 117, O Light of Life. We could have our hymn leaders. Thank you.
Light of life that lives in us, help us to turn away from war. Reveal the hate that lives in us, help us to live no more in fear. Save us, save our children. O light of love, rain down on us, help us to heal our wounded world. Our dying forests, gutted plains, smoldering cities, wasted fields. Save us, save our children. O light of life that lives in me, help me to lift my head and sing. Let be no joy as well as pain, see beauty in the rain and wind. Save me, save our children. Light of life and love in us, help us to open eyes and ears. Reach out and listen, touch and love, that we may stand in strength and peace. Save us, save our children.
Reverend Jill, perhaps you have a couple of offering words for us. Let me give you this again.
Thank you. Climb back upstairs. this is the time when we come together to share the gifts of our wallets for the gift of the church. And thank you very much for all that you offer to give and the ways in which you are sharing the gifts, not just from your wallet, but from your whole lives. Thank you. One of my favorite movies of all time. Go in peace, to rest, to love, and to heal yourselves and our world. Thank you.
Thank you again, Reverend Jill. Please follow along in your order of service as we recite the words with which we extinguish our chalice for this morning. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we meet again. Bob. Thank you, Bob. Please join us for hospitality. Reverend Jill is going to stick around for a bit.